everybody, this is FooserX, and we're going to talk about how to develop a 5-row series. A series in foosball is a set of passes or shots that all work together. Like the first pass is going to set up the second sets up the third, and so on down the line, all the way to the end of the game. And you're also looking into the past. You're seeing what the defender did, what he's giving up. So it's this timeline of possessions where you're constantly, you're thinking about what happened and what's going to happen. All right. So the first part of this series is, for the brush series, is the slow toss setup where you hover over it a few times, you drag it back and forth, and you bounce it off the wall. And we want to do this for a few reasons. The first reason is it lets us see what the defender's doing. Are they moving fast? Are they relaxing? Are they giving you a slow D? When you start to hover, are they going to bail? Are they racing you? Secondly is just like a lot of reps gives you muscle memory. This is going to give you a form of mental memory. We're going to do this so often, every possession, 2 or 3 times a possession almost, that it's going to become second nature. So it's forcing us to be patient. You're ingraining into your memory, your mental memory, how to be patient, how to be methodical and calculating. And that's not going to be beneficial just to your 5-row. That's going to help out on your 3-row too. When you're shooting, you're going to carry over that same slow thought process where you're analyzing the game. You're not rushing things. And that's where the power of foosball lies. And third reason why we want to do this little setup is if you've ever played somebody who always passes at the exact same spot or they always shoot at the exact time, that gives the defender an edge because they know when it's coming, and we don't want that. We want them constantly guessing when in that time count are you going to execute in the beginning of it, at the end of it, and anywhere in the middle. We want them constantly having to work. And the other reason we want to do this setup is all of our passes in this series, they're all going to start off from that motion. So it's really crucial that we get this down. We want to practice this if you don't have this motion down, you want to practice it. Just practice it until you get that down. Alright, so first pass in the series. We got to start somewhere. I'm going to do a brush up. So we could have gone in anywhere, but I like that brush up for a couple reasons. One is you shouldn't get an easy wall pass to start the game against somebody you've never played before. And secondly is that wasn't just any brush up. I mean, the mechanics were there, but so there's a sweet spot in the brush pass, and that is in the middle of where this guy, his range of motion is. So right in the middle, that's the normal brush pass motion. So you can go up, you can go down. That's the normal area. So for this pass, I went past the sweet spot just a bit and went up. So it's a nice strong pass. So we're already one step ahead of the defender. We got to the sweet spot. He was probably waiting for it, and when we didn't go, we let the ball get a little bit closer to the wall. He's going to start collapsing on the wall. So already we're one step ahead. All right, second pass. We're going to do an off the wall up pass, up brush. So why is that working? Well, a couple reasons. One, we just went lane, so he's probably thinking, well, you went lane, so now you might want to go wall. So already there's this little chess match going on, and we took our time, same thing, and it's just a strong pass in general. I mean, look, when it comes up off the wall, I mean, you're passing so close to the wall that even if he's in this lane area, it could still beat him. And you're coming off the wall, you're executing so close to the wall, he's just going to stay on the wall to start off the match. Alright, so third pass in the series. high straight lane pass. So this works because we've shown him 2 brushes. He didn't want to give us another brush, so he's definitely way up here, but that's not good enough. I mean, when you're dragging that ball down, he's going to follow it with this guy, and when he runs out of man, he has to make that changeover. You're going to see this gap here, and then that's the gap that you execute the pass in. So there's no getting around that gap. I mean, the only way to get around that is to know it and then immediately come up, and we haven't shown him that pass yet, so he's not going to do that. So I mean, it's just going to be there. All right, so now, I mean, he didn't want to give us that up to begin with, but after 3 ups in a row, and all 3 look different, we've all been 1 step ahead because those first couple passes were, slow and down here, and now this one's up here. We're always 1 step ahead. So let's go to our next pass. Just a lane. It's really steep, it's a high lane, it's pretty much from the same high spot as our last pass, which was way up here. So after doing that last pass, I mean, he's going to stay on that because you did it. He's not going to give you that freebie anymore. And really, after 3 good lanes in a row, Foosball 101 says you don't give the player, multiple the same pass, the same shot so many times in a row. And he probably can just camp up here. He's not going to give you another lane. That wall is going to be huge. You could have done a normal brush down. That probably would have been there too. All right, so now what have we established? We've established that we're using the brush series and we like to take our time. Even when we did this really high brush lane, we still took our time. We're still taking our time, letting the ball go back and forth, working it. All right, so next pass in the series. Hesitation wall. That pass is awesome. So what we're doing is, notice I didn't do any slow toss setups here. That's key because we've lulled them into sleep with our, we're tossing it back and forth, deep into the count. We're passing at 8 or 9 seconds every time. We're analyzing the defense. Now it's time to pass on 1 or 2 seconds. It's this off speed, not off speed. We're keeping them off balance. So not only are we going to wait and be patient, but we're going to take a pass when we see it now. And it's going to be there because he's so used to that slow toss, everything, and he's not used to that, something a little bit faster on the lateral speed. And the key point to this pass is you got to get that hesitation in there. You gotta drag it slow. You can even let some separation come off the ball, off the man. You want to get that slow in there so he thinks you've initiated the toss. He's not thinking pass. He's thinking, oh, he's just doing another toss. All right, so next pass. We'll go middle man to second man. So that pass is great because 1, we just executed a fast wall. Probably going to be hugging the wall. Also, this whole match, we've been, for the most part, all of our passes have been the brush. We've all been slow. It's all been patient. We've all passed with this guy. We've tossed with this guy. We've hit with this guy. So they're not going to be expecting this guy to do the pass. And really, back to our other fundamental is everything looks the same. That pass, ball's going back to that guy. It all looks the same. And really, it's still a strong pass because look how slow the toss is from the first guy back to this guy here. It's really slow, so it's plenty of time to read this open hole. So if that hole's not open, you don't take it. But it's going to be there because we've set that up through that fast wall, through all these other brushes where we're just doing our normal brush series. He's used to you passing with this guy. That's going to be there. All right, so I want to take a time out real quick just to stress this huge fundamental. Our options, this last pass, the second man to middle man, your hesitation wall, these were option passes. And they're options because we've laid the framework out, we've built the foundation, So we've shown him that we're going to do a brush series. We're going to be slow and patient. Even though we were passing at different spots on this toss, it was still the brush series. They were still the same 2 passes, but we're keeping things just different enough that he's having to guess on the toss. And he's so concerned with that toss that's when you can start taking your options. Once you set him up for these huge open holes and you're changing, instead of taking your time, now you're going to start taking it 1 or 2 seconds. Those are educated guesses. They work because we know they're going to work because we've laid that framework out. So I don't want to see, you guys can't just come out of the gate and start throwing all this stuff around saying, hey, check out this pass, it looks the same, it's right off your series, got this off the wall, everything looks the same. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to stick with your series, you have to be slow and patient, and you have to do your brushing enough that they understand that that's the main thing they have to defend. And once they get a false sense of security that you have to do your brushing, that's when you start taking this other stuff. So if you start coming out of the gate with all these options, your percentages, they're going to drop really fast, like within the match. You might get a couple in the beginning, but the more your defender can see see that you're doing these gimmick passes and options without setting it up, they're going to start to bait you for that, and they're going to start to take those away, and you're going to be forced to do something you don't want to do because you're so used to doing options. So your percentages are going to drop, and really, it's just bad foosball. Like, you want to be slow and calculating, and the only way to do that is to use your base series and then drop in an option here or there. And another super important point, and really important, is you can't have too many options, because already on this brush series you saw I was already doing 4 brushes in different spots on the toss, and then you throw in these options. That's like 6 or 7 passes right there. I could easily go into more options here, and pretty soon I'm looking at 10 to 15 different passes, and it's too much. It's like going to a restaurant where you get this menu and there's just too many items on the menu and they all look good, and the waitress comes over, hey, are you ready to take your order? No, I'm still deciding. She comes over a few more times. I can't decide. That's what's going to happen if you have too many options and you're not sticking with your really simple series. Is there's going to be too much to choose from, and your decision making, the whole process and decision making is going to get really complicated in a meat nut situation. You might be fine in pickup games because you're loose and goose and you're letting things fly and you're seeing things well, but in a big game or meat nut, big points, you're going to start to get a little bit tight, and your decision making, it's not going to be able to handle all these different options. You want something super simple that you can just fall back on, really reliable, and that's your basic brush. So I can't stress this enough. You don't want to make options your main part of the series. They're just here and there. You probably just need 5 or 6 passes and that's it. But because we're doing the brushes at different points, they feel like different passes. All right, so had to get that in there. So our last pass was this middleman pass. I love that pass. I call it the spear special because he would do it all the time. It's so slow, and it makes you feel like you're a beginner. And the reason that works, as slow as that is, I kind of think it's an advanced pass because it's all about being in the head of your opponent. You're going back and forth. I mean, if you've been doing that all game, you're looking at 50 times already where you're doing this motion and you're not passing it. You're just testing the waters. So he's just going to follow the ball. He's not even probably going to give you super serious defense because he doesn't see that you're into your brush. And within that toss, sooner or later, he's going to relax and he's not going to collapse on the wall. He's just going to be buzzing here. And that's when you don't make any fast motions. If you were to make a fast motion, get a little rough, like a little aggressive, trying to do a fast wall, he would collapse. So because it's so smooth, it just works. All right. So now, and that works too because our last pass was this middleman pass. So before, he was waiting for the toss, he was waiting to block this guy, to block the pass off this guy, but our last pass was up here. So now he's thinking every time that ball goes back to this guy, I've got to come up here and block it. Look how big that space is. You could do fast walls, you could do all sorts of walls all day long, but so we're just going to keep it nice and smooth, just a little something different. All right. So next in the series. Obviously, it's not a pass, but it works because it's just like all the other stuff. I mean, look at that setup. You guys didn't see that coming out. Same exact setup. I mean, it wasn't even fast. It was just, moving it around, and then you go into motion. So it works because this whole game, I've been doing this slow toss, working my brush series, and every time I'm tossing and doing brush series, I'm getting a feel of where this guy's D is. Because if he was out here, I'm not going to do that, but I know it's going to be open. And not just am I paying attention to the 5-row D, looking at the goalie D too. So I've seen this open all match long. I know when it's there, but through discipline, I've not taken that because I want to give my series a chance to develop. And if I were to take that right off the bat, I might get it. It might be a good point, but 1-1, 2-1, those aren't big points. We're going to save it for like 3-3 or game point or something. And another reason is if you come out of the gate and they give you that hack and you just take it right off the bat and you're thinking, yeah, we're up 1 point, it's first impressions mean a lot in foosball. So you take that hack, they're going to see you as a hacker, and you're not going to get that hack again. That goalie, he's constantly, he's going to be bobbing out there. It's going to be a low percentage hack if you do try it. And not just this match, but future matches, you've made that impression that you're going to be a hacker. And anybody watching, they're going to think that right off the bat. But by keeping it on the series, you're still showing the defenders they have to worry about this. You're kind of lulling them to sleep in a way. Like they're so preoccupied with how much you're dominating the 5-row that they're going to forget about that one time. It's going to feel like a freebie. Like, oh, that's not the norm. He mostly wants to pass. So, 4 or 5 possessions into the future, guess what? He's going to start to forget about that again. So this is why you can't just come out of the gate and use this. All right, so I could go into a couple more options, but I don't want to teach you guys options really. Your main series needs to be just your flat brushing, and really without the options, the brush series is still a series in itself because you can pass up and down, up and down here. So each one of these passes, it's different, but it's the same pass. It's the same up. It's the same down. All right. So let's review a couple things. Couple main things. So first thing, we always want to have this little toss here. We always want to go back and forth. We want to hover, maybe hitch, a little off the wall. We do that so we can read the D and it lets us analyze everything, what's going on, and it's showing our opponent that we're going to be slow, patient, we're going to pass deep into the count, and they're not going to know what's coming. So we want to have control of that so we can manipulate the defender instead of the other way around. And second review point is every pass here needs to look the same. They all have to have that slow takeoff. The hack had the same takeoff. You're always, you're dragging it slow. You're always, everything just looks the same. Even your options, they all look the same. They don't have to be fast. They just have to look the same. They have to be smooth. Any slight difference in motion, like you saw the hesitation wall, but if you do like a little giddy up, or you want to something different, even a little bit, good defenders, they're going to key off on that. So everything needs to look the same. All right, next review point is options are not the series. Can't keep stressing that. If you watch a lot of rookies and scrubs passing, you'll see them, they're just out of control in the 5-row. They're just doing all sorts of stuff. It's not working to your advantage because you're just guessing, you're just hitting and hoping. You want to develop a framework, really sturdy foundation, and then from there you can start, picking people off with options here or there. But you got to have that foundation. and then you can't do options because too many options in the pressure situations, it's just too much to handle. It's too much to think about. We want something nice and simple, this slow tossing, brushing, nice and simple. The more choices you have in the game, the more you're going to lose control and make bad decisions. Alright, so I hope that gets you guys started. Not trying to say this is the only series to have, or if you're going to do a brush series, this is the way you have to have it. Everybody's got their own little, same concepts, but little bit little variations. Like you could start the whole series off the back pin, and from there your toss is always the same, but you could still go into your your different options and stuff. So this is just an example of how to open your mind, how to start seeing the game of foosball.